Welcome to another episode of the Career Keynotes podcast with Tincup and Gardiner, where William and Andrew chop it up with respected Silicon Valley talent acquisition and HR leaders to get the real story behind their career journeys, along with an insider's view of how companies engage with candidates. Let's face it, these days, finding the job, much less nailing down an interview, is not easy. This is a rare opportunity to learn firsthand what companies are looking for in a candidate and the best ways to engage with them. And now, here are William and Andrew.
Hello, audience. Welcome back. So glad you're here. I think I must say this every time, and I mean it most of the time, but I really mean it this time. I am very excited about today's show and today's guest. I've known Wanda for not long enough, but long enough to know that she's an incredibly well-regarded, well-established, sophisticated, successful TA practitioner. She walks the talk, and she will be a font of information and insight. And so I've been chasing after her, and you're busy. We're all busy. So I really appreciate that you're on the show. And so without further ado, welcome to the show, Wanda.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. It's my pleasure.
Okay, everybody, you know producer Bev, and you know my co-host William. So a great place to start, Wanda, would be, you know how I like to talk in effusivity. I do think that's a word. Instead of me telling everybody how amazing and great you are, why don't you just take 2 minutes or however long you want and give the audience some context of who you are and what you're all about?
Absolutely. At the heart, I'm an East Coast girl, born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, transplant out here to the West Coast, oldest of 5. So you know what that means, a lot of responsibility, wanting to lead the way for my siblings and make my parents proud, and specifically my mom, raised by a single mom for the most part. So a lot of grit. Got myself to college in New York City, and thought I was going to be a lawyer, and ended up becoming an investment banker initially. So a few years in, I want to say 5 years into working at JP Morgan, I found my true calling, which is working with people and moving into HR and doing recruiting. So I say that to say it's all about allowing yourself to be open for where things may lead you, because 25 plus years later, I feel like I have really truly arrived at a place that I enjoy being, and I love what I do.
I love that. What was through that journey? What was your toughest challenge as you travailed and went from place to place and job to job?
You know, that's a really great question. I think trusting myself, that it was, and trusting the process to know that it was going to end up okay. Again, I'm going to point to being the oldest, having that sense of responsibility. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of, I didn't have a lifeline that I could call. Emotionally support, of course, but from financially. So making those choices to not go the straight and narrow, or to not do the thing that everyone thought I should do and follow that career ladder exactly, it's kind of scary, right? Sometimes. And so I think that was the most difficult thing, William, not the actual doing, but that emotional maturity, maturity journey was probably the most difficult.
Wanda, so from law school to, and maybe, I don't know, even any appreciable time in law, to investment banking to TA, that is not insignificant. And then to your point, the oldest of 5, that's going to serve you well in any endeavor. I love what you said about, because you're right, we're all like, my dad wanted me to be a doctor and then an astronaut and then a policeman. And you want to please your parents. And to your point, you want to do something really well. And we always say on the show, you fall into TA. And the really good TA people that I know are just like you. I forget, you guys probably know the last guest went all the way through. He went all the way through law school and then said TA. So what do you think of your background, which is pretty diverse, has served you the best as you made your way into talent acquisition and working with people?
Yeah. And just to be really clear, I ended up applying, but did not go to law school. I ended up going to work in investment banking. I ended up marrying a lawyer. That was enough.
Even better.
Exactly. Even better. That was enough.
Bless you. Bless
So I think that the thread that goes through why I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and at the time I really, Marian Wright Edelman was someone that I had heard about, and I knew a lot about what she was doing around her Children's Defense Fund, and I wanted to be an advocate for children. And then I ended up going into investment banking and now recruiting in HR. And the thread, though, Andrew, is people and relationship building. So when I was an investment banker at JP Morgan, working with Ford, working with steel companies, working with beauty companies, I worked on the Westinghouse CBS merger as a baby banker. You're managing relationships with clients, right? You're trying to find solutions for them. You need to listen. You need to understand what makes them tick, what's going to help them be successful. You just take those competencies and skills and plop it into TA. It's the same skill set. It's the same arc. And if you have the capability of connecting with people, my mom would always say to me, you could be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't talk to everyone, doesn't matter. So I think that what I learned from this idea of being an advocate for people to being a banker, which I was advocating for my clients, whether they needed it or not, to being in talent acquisition and trying to help people transform their lives through their careers, is that you have to have this continuum of how you relate to people. I think that's the common thread.
It's a form of empathy that people don't talk about that much. I appreciate that. I want to ask you a question about mentors and what's your general take on mentoring, but if mentoring in the sense of folks that have helped you along the way. Yeah,
I'll give you my first answer and then I'll give you my post 45 answer. Okay. So
sure. But wait a minute, 45 is in President Trump or?
No, I'm sorry, 45 is in my age. Thank you for clarification.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't want to take it political, sorry.
I went into a different place, I'm better now.
Yeah, okay. It's okay.
You're fine.
So my first answer is, of course, I believe that folks should have mentors, whether they're formal or informal. I think people should seek them out. I think that you can learn a lot from folks, whether they've had your exact same experience or snippets of things that you think you might want to do. Or again, as I started with, being open to possibility, right? So the more exposure you get to people who are creating purpose, no matter what part of it is in your life, whether it's professional or personal, I think it's a good thing. Flash forward to being post 45 years old and being in corporate America for 26, 27 years now, and I've got a different take on it. I love giving back to people. It's something that I love to do. And I meet lots of folks who say that they are servant leaders. I interview a lot, so I hear a lot of catchphrases. But really, at the end of the day, I think people need sponsors. And I'm making that distinction intentionally. Mentor, you can talk about, I don't know about this thing with my job, or I had this project and I'm stuck on this, and you get, advice. A sponsor gets you in the room. They get you the projects. They get you the visibility. And at the same time, they also have your back in terms of giving you that honest, constructive feedback. And some of it might be hard feedback that you need to hear, right? That's important to have a sponsor. I think if you really want to grow in your career, to have a sponsor that is going to be honest with you, candid, and you can have that give and go. I have been fortunate, and actually I'll use the word blessed, to have some amazing people in my life. I jokingly say they're my board of directors, informally. One, quite frankly, is my mom. She has always been someone who, she gives me straight talk all the time. But at the same time, she pushes me from behind too, right? And I know that she's there to catch me if something's not going great. And then I would actually look to my current manager. He's a CHRO at Common Spirit Health. We ended up falling into a relationship, a work relationship, because he was my client when I was doing executive recruiting. And we found that there were similarities in the way we engaged, and we just had, he was like a thought leader. And so we would occasionally get together long after I had placed candidates for him and just chat or pick up the phone or go on a walking lunch. And over time, I realized, gosh, he's mentoring me. He's sponsoring me. And I know that now because he recruited me to come work at then Dignity Health and now Common Spirit Health. And he gives me the opportunities to be in the room, and he gives me the rope to make decisions. And so I would say to anyone who's listening, no matter what part, where you are in your career, I think you want to always be with people who help put you in situations where you can grow and learn. And I think you want to be able to reach back and do the same for others. So hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, it sure did. And it made me, that's a great answer. I'm very familiar with sponsorship as a friend of Bill W's. That's a whole nother level of sponsorship, but that's a really good distinction, Wanda. And you there's a lot to what you just said. So especially sticking with the winners, and people that are going to elevate your game and hold you accountable. We don't need more yes people. So listen, one of the things I really like about you, or admire and respect and really appreciate, is how nice you are. And the reason I say that is because in your business, HR, talent acquisition, it's not an easy job. You have a lot of clients. Your candidates are your clients. Your hiring managers are your clients. Your recruiters are your clients. Your senior leadership are your clients. Everybody's your client. And the metaphor I always use is you're a mom at home, and you're a mom at work, and you're a mom, you're a guy. So, and to maintain a positive attitude and a disposition of a giver, and you are a giver. You're always doing something, donating something, sponsoring something, involved with some philanthropic thing, which is, I'm not being dismissive. The audience know that Wanda does a lot of good. So, but my experience with people with TA is you really have to, you kind of have to, the expression that comes to mind is you have to break a few eggs if you want to make an omelet. You have to make some tough decisions. You have to hurt some people's feelings. Because the truth hurts. So how have you navigated that and remained so positive and upbeat? And then if that's not enough of a question, maybe just throw in what are some of the hardest things? Because I think a lot of people want to be ahead of TA, and then I know enough people that it's taken their soul and shortened their life, or taken their hair, or whatever you want to say. So what are how do you navigate that? And what are some of the bigger challenges that you think that maybe wouldn't be apparent to the untrained eye?
Yeah, that's, I'm going to take that as kind of two questions. The first is about how to maintain positivity, how to stay grounded is what I'm going to go with, Andrew. I think you always have to know your why. Why do you get up every day? Why do I walk into 185 Berry Street, which is Common Spirit's San Francisco location? Now it's my home office. But why do I do that? And for me, the why for me right now is multifold. But at the end of the day, we are an organization that meets people when they're most vulnerable. They're sick often. We obviously see people for wellness checkups. But oftentimes you come to the hospital because something's wrong, right? And so we meet people when they're at their most vulnerable. And so my job as the head of the talent acquisition team is to make sure that the folks who are on that team still have that spark. They have that thing inside of them that says, I know that if I don't recruit the best people to come work at Common Spirit Health, our patients aren't going to get the best. And so I don't know if I feel like I have to break eggs to scramble or whatever analogy you use, because I try to remember my why. And there are definitely days that are tough days, but remembering the why, which is at the end of the day, how I have to stay centered, how I come back, helps me to manage those difficult conversations sometimes. Sometimes you have to turn a candidate down. I mean, my most favorite job is giving somebody a job. That adrenaline rush is like crossing the finish line of a marathon, for which I've run 9. It's just that crazy feeling that you're helping someone. So I love doing that, but I don't get to do that all the time, right? So I would say that's understanding your why, knowing why you do it, surrounding myself with people who get it. I've got a fantastic team, and I hope we get to talk about that too later. I have a fantastic team, and they inspire me every day, right? Like, it's not fun if you're not inspired every day. I get headaches, but they inspire me. And then the second part of your question is really around the things around being a TA leader that might surprise you. And I led off with, you got to be a people person. You got to understand people. You got to have empathy. I think that was William's word, and I think that's a great word. But you can't do that stuff with your head in the sand. You got to be a business person to lead TA. I'm responsible for a massive budget that includes applicant tracking systems, job board spend, programmatic spend on social media, background checks, compliance, managing staff budgets, contract labor when we need it, right? Figuring out how to manage your website. How are you going to market with events? I know I'm missing several different aspects, but it is, executive search, that can be a big one as well. People think you're just sitting in a room and hiring people. No, you're actually managing a function end to end. And so what I would say folks should make sure they do, and in any role they do, is that they understand the business that they support, and they understand the industry, and they keep themselves up to date on the trends and the things that are changing, and that they use data to make decisions. Because if you think that you can just go and say, I'm a nice person and I'm going to hire a bunch of people, but you can't figure out how to balance the budget, can't figure out how to move people, can't spot trends, you're not going to be good to your team, you're not going to be good to your organization, you're not going to be good to your candidates, and definitely not to your hiring managers. So in this day and age, especially in healthcare with COVID and impacting our elective surgeries and some of our other elective treatments, which are, clearly the higher dollar amount reimbursements that we get, which impacts our bottom line. It all impacts our bottom line. You have to figure out how to do more with less, and do it in a way that still is high touch. And that's a real struggle these days, right? So I hope that answered your question, but I would say making sure you're a true business person. And if you need those skills to be shored up to move into this role, take classes at night, do some webinars, figure out how to sharpen those skills, because more and more today, analytics drives everything that TA leader needs to be able to do
I love it.
to be successful.
I love it. Okay, so Wanda, the question will ask is will be a little bit interesting, and I want your advice. And I'm gonna give you a magic wand. It's actually a pen, but I'll give you a magic wand. I'll take it back at the end of the question. But what we get right or get wrong about recruiting women?
Oh, that's a good question, William.
And you've seen it from both sides, right? So you've seen it from multiple sides, from your team and yourself, and so I just want to kind of get your take, because again, you've had this career and you've seen it from several different places. So what's your advice to us, and what do we get right? I mean, that's cool, but what do we mostly get wrong when it comes to recruiting women?
I think what we get right when it's done well is to recognize that women bring a wealth of information that sometimes, and this is, I am generalizing,
Sure.
sometimes the male individual may not look at, right? And so I am in an industry right now that is heavily weighted women, healthcare. And it makes sense, right? They are caregivers, not just to their children, but to their families, to their friends. And so it attracts a lot of women. I think we are at Common Spirit Health, I want to say we're 86% women out of 150,000 people, our team members. So when we understand that they bring empathy, that they have the ability to listen, that they have the ability to care, and that they bring a valuable, diverse expertise, I think we get that. That's great when we have them at the table. What we get wrong, and actually I'm going to spin it a little bit on you, William,
Sure.
is what I think women get wrong for themselves is that they often count themselves out. And I will give you a very personal example, and it comes to the job, not the job that I have now since we've merged, it's a little bit different of company, but the job I took about 7 years ago at Dignity Health. As I mentioned to you earlier, Daryl Robinson had been my client, and then we kept in touch, but we never worked together. Like we never worked in the same organization together. And as he had moved from URS, which is a huge engineering firm, to a healthcare firm, and was building out his human resources team and figuring out where there may be gaps and where there were opportunities, talent acquisition rose to the top for him. And he called me a couple of times. I was at Blue Shield at the time, and I just literally helped to build out the executive leadership team because they had a long-term CEO retire. So I had just filled everybody on the C-suite, and I was excited to work with them. And here he comes, Daryl, calling and saying, oh, I'm thinking about need this. And he's telling me, this is what he needs. And I had done early stage entry-level recruiting because I'd done the college recruitment, graduate level recruitment for interns and associates. And then I went to Korn Ferry and got trained on how to do executive retained search, and ultimately worked at Apple and did it in-house. And of course I was at Blue Shield and at Boyden as well. So I had nothing in between. I had the two bookends, right? And I was like, oh, I haven't done that. I don't know. I don't think I'm the person you want to talk to. And I actually gave him 5 other names of people. Literally, first conversation, he's calling to offer me an opportunity to be promoted at a much bigger company. And I thought the job description reads X, and I'm missing 4 of these things. So you should get what you should get. You should get the best person. And, over a couple of months, he worked on me. But what he said to me was, I like the way you think. I like the way you approach things. Let's have a conversation. But I had already taken myself out of the running. I did that. He didn't do it. I did it. And so we do it with negotiating comp all the time.
That's right.
And I'm speaking women. Men will come to the table, again, massive generalization, but they often come to the table and they will ask for the top of the range and don't have 5 of the things on the job description.
I need access to the company jet.
Exactly.
I got to go to the Masters every year. Yep. Totally understand.
And they want to move quickly, right? And that's great. And I give them sole credit. They shouldn't be knocked for it. Right. What you don't ask for, you don't get, right? But women have to learn that we can take that bet on ourselves.
Just a quick follow-up. As
absolutely.
you talked about it, you were looking at checking off all the things on the job description, and you weren't giving yourself, and to a large degree, women are looking at that too, very, very practically. Whereas most men would look at that and go, if I don't know it, I'll learn it on the job. I'll figure it out.
Right on.
Okay.
Absolutely, high five, because I thought I am not going to go to a place where Daryl is brand new the industry, he's new. He is creating a different model of how he wants to run HR, right? And I might not have everything that he needs because I want to do the best job I can for him. My whole goal in life is to make my leaders look great. That's just the way I was raised. I want to make them look great. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to have that, or I'm going to have to ramp up on that. And so I took myself out of the running. And so I would encourage people to really think about transferable skills. I would encourage them to think about intrinsically what they know they can do. I think you have to be self-aware. Sometimes that leap, that bridge is too far of a jump. And in that case, you got to say, you know what, it's too far of a jump. But I do think 8 times out of 10, most people can bridge it.
Wow. I knew this was going to happen. Okay, I've got a bunch more questions, but before I do, Producer Bev, do you want to ask anything? Because you usually have some good insight.
Yeah, it's been really lovely meeting you, Wanda. We've exchanged 1,000 emails, but it's been nice to actually hear your voice. I love your dedication to soft skills and communication, and my whole life has been knowing or questing my why. So that was good to notice. I have a question. What is the smallest thing you've ever done within the scope of TA that has had the biggest payoff? And it could be a promotion you ran or a comment you made or a contest your company was having. What's the littlest thing? What little penny's worth of something netted a really big payoff?
Producer Bev.
Wow, that's a great question.
That is a good question.
I think
I meant
I'll
to
go
say
with this.
unexpected payoff.
Yeah, no, I think I got something. Here at Common Spirit Health, we believe in kindness. We believe that kindness can heal. We actually have the data that shows kindness heals people. And so when Dignity Health at the time rebranded themselves from Catholic Healthcare West to Dignity Health, they went out with a campaign around human kindness. So I joined the organization right around then and was thinking about healthcare. I'd been in high tech, I'd been in finance. It's like healthcare is a little sleepy on the attracting people front. We need to get ourselves, how are we going to differentiate ourselves? And so they're asking a series of questions of people who knew things way more than I did, because I had been on the payer side and never been on the provider side of healthcare. This concept of human kindness, and what does that really mean to you as an employee, as a patient, as a client of us? And so as a prospective employee, I wanted people to understand that if you harness this idea of human kindness and that you attracted people who wanted to be in an organization that was about something, that talk the talk, but also walk the walk, how impactful could that be? So we decided to work with a cross-functional group of people from HR to what we call our mission integration team and a few other functional areas. And we developed human kindness questions. And so when you interview with us, we ask you questions about human kindness. It often takes people aghast. They're like, oh, right? And it's that wonderful moment that people are going to prepare for an interview. You hope they prepare for an interview, but it's that moment of magic when you are with a person across the table or now on Zoom, and you're asking them questions like, who taught you kindness and how do you use it in your work life? That people have to usually stop and think about that. And it often takes us to a real personal place for people. And you wouldn't get that normally. No. So it was a really small thing. Bev, it actually didn't cost us any pennies besides people's time, but it has netted an amazing impact for us as an organization and specifically as a talent acquisition organization. So thank you for the question.
That was an excellent answer. Thank you.
Producer Bev, and it was an even better answer. Okay, so we're gonna have to pivot here pretty soon, but I want to ask one more question around TA. We kind of joke around on this, they never bring you in, Wanda, or someone like you because it's going great, and you just have to show up and nod your head and smile a lot. They usually bring you in, to put out a fire or light a fire or some combination of the two, build a team, create something. So what, and you don't have to give too granular of an answer, but what is one of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome, or that one of the things that you're the most proud of as you look over the career in TA? It could be a project, it can be just a tough hire, it could be anything. But what is something that something you're really proud of that was not easy?
Again, I'm going to go back to people, because that's what matters to me. And every day it matters to me. And I go to sleep at night thinking about my team. I wake up thinking about my team. And so I think COVID is probably the toughest thing. You know, recruiters, don't get me wrong, we definitely have some introverts on our team. We've got about 225, 30 people on our team right now. Definitely have some introverts, but we are largely extroverted people who need connection, who want to be at the water cooler connecting with you over what TV show they watched the night before and what a tough recruit's going on, or high-fiving because you closed the deal. That's who we are. And then when we had March 16th, everybody to shut down and go home, that rocked the apple cart, right? So I'm actually really proud that I remembered the why I got there. I listened to the team, and we created some safety nets for our group. And I'm really, really proud that after, it's going to be a year in a couple weeks, I can say that the team, and remember, we were going through an integration. We've only been a combined company for just 2 years, just a couple weeks ago. So I was on my way to meeting everyone in person, and COVID happened, right? So I do believe that we are a stronger team today, post-pandemic. And I would venture to say, because of some of the things that we did as a group, probably accelerated that bond and that connectedness. If you don't mind, I'll just elaborate on a couple of things that we did. Okay, so we didn't know how long it was going to take. I was really worried that people were working in their dining room tables and their bedrooms, and how are they going to differentiate when I'm at work, when I'm not. And as you mentioned, Andrew, we got a lot of stakeholders and a lot of hiring managers who want things when they want it. And so we implemented, I want to say the second or third week into shelter in place across the country, because we've got folks in, I don't know, probably 30 states, even though we're domiciled in 21, we've got remote workers. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, we do 15 minutes. We call it Wellness Wednesday. And we take 15 minutes out. We do a meditation. We have someone come sing a song to us. We have team members who have grandkids or kids. They've told us jokes. That's been the one that everyone's wanted repeat. Kids telling us jokes is just the cutest darn thing ever. We do Zumba. We've done karaoke to I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. We have done things with Play-Doh. You get it. It's 50 minutes for us. We start every meeting with a reflection across Common Spirit Health. That's just something that we do. And then we go right into what we're going to do. I also now write a weekly blog. It's called Our New Normal. And it really started off, one of the folks on my direct team said, I think people are going to want to hear from you while we're in this place. And I don't think they want to hear from me like that. So I started writing this weekend blog that I would basically encapsulate it the week, the highs and the lows. And sometimes there were lows. And you guys remember 2020 summer was just a mess with racial injustice, police brutality. I addressed it all. And at the end, I'm a crazy hiker now. I take all these wonderful pictures of sunsets and sunrises and all sorts of things. And so I add them in with some inspirational quotes, things that people send me. The team sends me things throughout the week. Or I'm out and I see something that makes a connection. And so we're doing that. Now we're going to be starting Focus Hour. One day a week, we're going to have 1 hour where no one on our team can ask you to meet. It's your time to catch up, your time to do that training you needed to do, to clean out your inbox, whatever you need to do to make sure you feel successful so that you can have that time away from the office when you're still at home, which is your office. So those are some of the things. I've been calling every person on my team individually just to check in with them. 225 people. It's to
calls.
fit it in. It's a lot of calls, but it is the most rewarding thing I get to do when I get to carve that time out to have those personal one-on-one conversations and truly connect with people. So
I love it.
I'd say that's the most important thing I feel like I've done is built a cohesive team that we have each other's back.
Wanda, you are a sage. I love this. Everything about this call I love. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is the way that you look at team members now versus maybe early in your career. So that evolution of what you would have cared about in evaluating people that fit around you and make you better. So we can start with where you are now and work backwards. But this idea of how how you evaluated team. What did you look for in people specifically, and how that has evolved?
Yeah. I've always been with people. I've been the president of every little student government that I could be from 6th grade to my high school year and then in college. I've run new student orientation programs. I've done a lot with nonprofits, volunteer-driven organizations. And I think that where I am now is lead and model, and you will inspire, right? So lead and model, and you will inspire. I think back then I thought I had to show how competent I was so that I could get people to follow. Does that make sense?
It does. I just know, but it begs the question: is that? Do you think that was because gender or race or anything else?
Youth. I think gender,
Okay.
youth, lack of experience. Kind of
Right.
thing. Race plays into everything because
Truth.
I shouldn't say unfortunately. That's the wrong way of saying it. I'm in the skin. That's just what it is, right? This is how I present, for good or bad, indifferent. This is how I present. But yeah, I thought I had to show my competence. I had to get results. I had to do all of this stuff. And not that I wouldn't bring other people along, but I felt like if I could show that I was competent, that I could get the results, that I would get other people to come along. Now, as an almost 50-year-old woman who's been working for close to 30 years, my goal is to figure out how to have other people be inspired to get the results so we come along together. That's now where I find the fun, right? Now, I'll give you an example. I knew that when I was going to be bringing this team together, which Daryl wanted me to do about 7 or 8 years ago, a centralized function, that the only way we were going to survive is that we had a key sourcing team. We didn't have that at Dignity Health before. So talked with a person on the team, happens to be a woman, Jackie Schoenberg, and she had been a marketing major, but was a recruiter, was pretty good at what she did, but didn't have a formal training in sourcing. Sourcing kind of a new thing, right? We used to have our Rolodex and executive search, right? And Jackie was like, I can do this. And she built a business case. I told her, I think we need this, I think we need that. She built a business case, got the role. And if you could just see the things that she has created for us, it's even more than I could have even imagined back then when we had that very first conversation about what does Dignity Health need to win in the marketplace. And so I think having other people help you figure out what the impacts are, understanding what their skills and competencies are, and then giving people a chance to grow into it with support, you can have amazing results. And Jackie's just one of many, and I can't take the credit for it because she's just a badass. I'm allowed to say that.
You can say whatever you want.
But yeah, I think that if that makes any sense, that I think that's where I've evolved to, from feeling like it's just competence, results, show, to how do I really lift up the team and let them be the light?
I love it.
God, so much there. And we're kind of at that point in the show where we have to pivot and go to the candidate side of the house. But just to put a bow on it, Wanda, some of the key takeaways, just to summarize, because they're really important. You talked about the importance of knowing your why and how that can underscore and kind of propel you into almost anything, as long as you're grounded and anchored in something that you believe in. You talked about the importance of having a team, and you were vulnerable to say, hey, you know what? Because they were right at first, some of the best, one of the things I've noticed about when I'm interviewing TA leaders or HR leaders like you is the really good ones have good teams. And there needs to be a transition, because for a while you're like, well, I don't want to hire someone smarter than me because I don't want them taking my job.
Oh,
And,
I never had that hang up.
well, and I think, but I think that's why you're so successful, because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, and I've noticed that about you. You're not afraid to say, hey, I don't know. But together, we don't need to get into any more cliches here, but so that's very powerful. Surrounding yourself with people, and then the high touch thing, you're not one of these people that are a leader that's in this ivory tower. Like, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. You're very collaborative, and I think that inspires trust. It inspires confidence, and probably most importantly, it inspires results. And I don't need to tell you how good you are at what you do. I think.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well,
There's a lot of growing still left to do, I hope.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And there's not enough Wandas. And that's why, again, it's an honor and a pleasure to kind of, again, show people that there's a Wanda on the other side of the internet or the email or the phone. They don't know that. And now you're going to, when we ask, hey, how do people get in touch with you? And
I make myself available on LinkedIn.
You do.
I do. Yeah. And if someone reaches out to me and sends me a private note and I feel that there's value that I can provide, which is with 99% of people, I will set up an intro call with them. And if it's not me, if I feel like there's someone better suited on my team to address their questions, I will ask that person on my team to do it in my stead. I love helping young people in particular. I know we have to end probably soon, but I think what's really important is something that you said about surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you. This is something that as a TA leader, I think, or a recruiter, we struggle with a lot with hiring leaders. Back to that job description I was, talking about, that metaphorical job description. Folks want to get what they want on the list, right? But they don't always think about those other things that someone might not, maybe they don't have that, but they bring this other piece. And so when I'm sitting and counseling leaders who are looking at, especially future people leaders, I believe everybody needs to have a great people leader. You got to figure out, can you hire people with runway? If you hire somebody that is actually fitting that job description to the T, I don't have nothing else to bring to the party, then they might be able to come and do that one thing you need. But how often in business and in life are we going to be static? We're not. We're ever changing. Things are growing. And so one of the things that I would encourage recruiters and leaders to do is to think about every hire, how it fits into your team, obviously for gaps and competencies and all of that stuff. But what is their runway? Because I think that that's the difference maker, quite frankly. And so I'm always trying to look for what's someone's runway. And sometimes I'm not ready for their runway because we need to build something first before we can get to that next thing, right? Sometimes it's got to build that way, or prioritization from a budget perspective. But knowing that people have the capability and the will to do it, all day long, I'll take that person all day long.
I think we're all aligned there. I could teach you how to answer the phone or you said it better than I did, but I can't teach you to care. And if you care, and you give someone enough rope or runway, like your metaphor, boy, and the opportunity, that's when the magic happens. It's to your point, when I would just say, hey, listen, just sit there, and when this happens, do this. Like, that doesn't inspire a lot of growth or creation or inspiration. Okay, so now we're going to pivot, Wanda, and we are going to focus on the other side of the house. And that is, as you know, the way candidates engage with employers and companies has shifted dramatically, not the least of which with this COVID business, and it's evolved significantly. You've been at this a while. One of the things we really want to do with the show and are keen on doing is giving people really pragmatic, actionable feedback and guidance on not just tools and tips or tricks and hacks, but maybe just philosophical things, fundamental things, and some of the, and I know I can count on you to show up in a meaningful way on this, but more than just networking and, make sure your profile's right and sit up straight. But on a broad stroke, what feedback or guidance do you have for someone that maybe just graduated from college and is overwhelmed? They haven't figured out their career direction. They're getting pressure on their folks. You should join the Army, Andrew, or you should be and then also in the same breath, someone that's okay, I'm in a job, and it's, to your earlier comment, I love that, it's a check the box job. I just need the dough. I don't want to make a change. I'm afraid because I need the money, because I have to support the family, and I don't have not just the confidence, maybe it's that, but maybe it's I just don't know. I don't know. I'm too afraid to make a change. What feedback or guidance do you have for someone that's stuck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good question. And I think there are a lot of people who are there right now, unfortunately. So a couple of things I would say really succinctly. First and foremost, give yourself some grace. It's just going to take time right now. That's just the way it is. Second thing I'll say is, don't be afraid to take a job that you didn't think would be the right thing for you. Just start somewhere, right? So maybe, 2019, you would have gotten that investment banking analyst job because they were all on campus, but that dried up. Take the next job that gives you an opportunity to work with other people, build a skill set, and be open. And you can still be working on, I want to get that investment banking job because that's your real passion, but take some job that's going to help you move forward. Because I think when people don't have something, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a paid job, Andrew. So it might not be a paid job. It might have to be a volunteer job, or you might have to be.
I think we elaborate.
It could be an internship, or it could be a volunteer thing. What you need to be able to demonstrate to a hiring leader or a recruiter is that you have skills, you have competencies. You can't really do that if you've been on the bench for 2 years playing video games, right? Not your own fault, but it's kind of hard to show that you have more skills than the computer, the controller thing, right? Moving the controller. So take a role to put yourself somewhere, right? And you can be upfront and transparent about this. This isn't I don't think this is where I want to end up, but I want it to be productive. For the folks who are in a job and not sure, do a real skills inventory. And that might not be, some fancy assessment online. It could be really just thinking about what are the things that bring you joy? What are the things you're good at? And then seek out people while you're getting that 9 to 5, because we all need the paycheck, right? You need security. I understand that. But figure out how you can find people who might be doing something that you think is aligned in that skill set that you're interested in. Have those conversations. If it really leads to something, then maybe you have the opportunity at night to do something online. I know some people may not, and that's a harder jump. And so maybe that is, you're gonna have to wait to do that. And that's okay too, because I understand it's a real hustle for a lot of people right now. Driving, people are just doing a lot of gig jobs and a lot of, short-term gigs and things like that. But I think if you're stuck, if you're truly stuck, I would say take a role, get yourself doing something. The fact that you will feel like you're being productive, I think is going to open doors for you in other ways, because you're not going to go to your job interview feeling like you're defeated, feeling like I got to get this job and being all stressed out. You know, it will give you something else to focus on while you still work towards that journey to finding that thing that will be your ultimate thing. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Oh my
But
God, it's so helpful. I mean,
that's what I would suggest.
I want William and producer Bev to dip in their oar because I could just keep going. So
Sure.
go ahead, William.
Sure. I want you to kill off some the worst career advice that you've been given or that you've heard other people give.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Don't take, there's a lot.
Yeah. Where do you start?
Yeah, exactly where you start. Try to be succinct. Don't take a job for the money. A lot of people are like, oh, it's, you know, people are job, and you could do a slash for the title, right? A lot of people feel like I'm at this place, I gotta go here, I gotta get to this title. I'm 40 or I'm 30, I'm 25, I need to make this move. Understand truly what you think the role is gonna bring, what you think you can give, and what skills you think it will help you set you up for the future. Because people chase titles and they chase money, but they don't chase content and purpose. And if you are doing things for the wrong reasons, you know what's going to happen.
Somebody timestamp this, producer Bev. We got it. Wanda, we're trying to. So one of the things that producer Chris, who's not here right now, but we're to take segments of the show where someone says something really profound and then lean it, because for snippets for clickbait. So that was one of those. So, but we don't have a timestamp, but we'll come back to that. Okay. So that was a really good answer to a really good question. I think some of the basic kind of blocking and tackling advice that I try to give to people when they come to me is just very three basic, you know, are you good at it? Do you enjoy it? Can you get paid? Oh, by the way, if you're good at it and you enjoy it, you're going to get paid. And it's hard to navigate that. And that sounds amazing. But the truth is that just what you said, hey, if I got a mortgage and 3 kids and you're telling me, well, I like, you know, I like playing the piano, but I play by ear and I can't really write music. And, you know, I can't go to, you know, whatever Market Street and play and just put my thing out and hope I get $500 a second, because that dog doesn't hunt. So I think one of the big shortcomings in our educational system and just in general, people that are new to the job market, I always say, hey, Wanda, being good at getting a job isn't something you want to be good at. It's just not. It's like being good at dating. You don't want to be good at dating. You want to be married. You want to have a girlfriend. So people are not taught to advocate. And you've been very consistent about your why in people. So what do you say to someone where you really, and you've kind of said it, but when I say to you, are you good at it? Do you enjoy it? Can you get paid? And then I back that up with, hey, we're not taught. There's a lot of, just like you said it really well. I could be the best darn plumber in the world, but if no one knows me and no one knows that I'm a plumber, doesn't matter. So what's some good practical advice that you have for someone that needs, because you said it so well, just do something, do anything, action. Just even the littlest thing that you can do to get outside your comfort zone. Because from my perspective, that's where it falls apart for most people. They don't either have the confidence or the faith, and you do. I think some people do, but and I'm not trying to convert this into a Tony Robbins seminar, but I mean, what are some things that you would encourage you? And you did some good stuff. You know, if it's a hobby, don't just do it for the money. Whatever you believe in, be active, network. I mean, but what comes to mind for you when I say that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of covered some of the good highlights there, Andrew, but I mean, I don't want to be glib. I realize it's a real issue if you got to pay your bills, right? So I get that. I think for me, what I've learned is to pace myself and to parse. And because I can't have it now, doesn't mean that I won't be able to have it later. Maybe it'll change, quite frankly. But understanding that sometimes you got to do the grind. You might have to do that grind job. But again, if you have the ability to continue to figure out, are there other ways that I can get those valuable skills that will help me get to the thing that I feel is the try to do that on the side, right? Try to do that on the side. Even if it's, if that's what it is for you. But I don't know if I have any additional wisdom besides recognizing that sometimes you got to put it on the shelf, but know that you can always revisit it. Because we got to pay bills these days.
But even that, I mean, I think you did just kind of say, we have the show philosophically, we all believe everyone should work at Jack in the Box or McDonald's for 6 months, just so you know.
I could only do Burger King for 2 weeks.
No, but
I'm being honest. That was one of my first jobs.
No, I don't know.
Flipping burgers.
Bev was Jack in the Box. I was Foster's Freeze. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, we didn't have Foster's Freeze back in Baltimore, but I know what it is. But I worked there. I worked at Burger King.
It's one thing if I say that to my kid, it's like, yeah, come on, Dad. Seriously, you're this, and here you are, and you're a very successful, accomplished TA leader, and you're saying, hey, man, sometimes you gotta work it.
Sometimes you gotta work the grind. If I tell my kids every day, if for some unfortunate reason I don't have this job and it means I've got to work 2 jobs at the McDonald's, I'm gonna go do it, because that's what you have to do. Like it's about taking care of yourself, right? It's about being accountable. And sometimes life throws you some speed bumps, but at the end of the day, you don't let that define you.
You've been very consistent about that. And I want to acknowledge you or honor you, because it's really true. And that is, you're saying, give yourself some grace. It's not all about the money. I know you're spiritual, Wanda, and I am too. I think all of us are on the show. And I'm a firm believer in, hey, you got to show up. Like, if you don't show up, nothing will happen. And you know what? If you show up, nothing may happen either. But your chances of something happening, it's like you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, kind of thing. So showing up is huge. And I think people get discouraged and they make it about me, which leads me, I know you guys should ask more questions, but I'm going
to tell you something. I'm going to find it first. Okay. Give me a second, because here's my new quote. And it's actually a Reese Witherspoon quote. I absolutely love it. And I have it saved in my favorites. I am my own lottery ticket. And I always think that if no one shows up, I know I will show up, and I know I will do the work. So just to put a little point on what you just said there, Andrew, that's on my phone. It's on, I have a digital picture frame that my team gave me this summer for my birthday. It's on that reel. And it's right. You got to bet on yourself. I'm a crazy Warriors fan. And I was reading an article about Juan Toscano-Anderson.
I love him.
Yeah. He had to bet on himself. He went all over Mexico, did all these sorts of things, wasn't sure if he was going to make it out of the G League, but just kept putting in the work.
JTA.
And you gotta bet on yourself and show up.
So I know we're really running out of time, and I'm dogging. Yeah. I'm taking all everybody's time. You guys can jump in when you want, but Wanda, so you interviewed thousands and thousands of people. What are a couple of things that you think companies don't do well when they're sourcing or screening or engaging talent? and or what do you think they're doing well? And I'm not, you don't have to mention any company names.
No, yeah. I'll just say generically, I think the thing that oftentimes hiring managers and sometimes recruiters miss is that we don't listen to the candidate.
Yeah, you said that before.
You gotta listen to the candidate, right? And then you can curate their experience based on what they do, what they say they're interested in, what their expertise are. You can make that a special curated experience if we just stop and listen. But no, we've got a plan, and the plan is, and we're guilty of it too, they're going to interview the VP of finance, they're going to interview the controller, they're going to interview this. But what they're really interested in is strategic finance and population health. So, but nobody in the first screening interviews relayed that to anybody else in the chain. So every time we interview this candidate, person after person, they're talking about the balance in the checkbook kind of thing, balance in the budget kind of stuff. And this person is wanting to do something totally different. And so you miss that connection, and you miss whether that person's actually right for that role, right? And it doesn't mean they're not right for the company, just might not be right for that role. So I would say,
oh, that's a good point.
No.
That's a really good
Right.
point.
we don't listen enough.
I just want
Because-
to pile on. Hold on, Wanda, because you just touched on something super profound. A lot of times I apply for the wrong job. Now, God willing, I get you somehow and I connect to you and say, you know what, Andrew, I know you want to be a process benefits or whatever you say, but you know what, you would be really better for this job. So I guess I'm kind of answering my own question, saying
Yeah, I think that's when recruiting works at its best, right? When you can identify someone's skills, someone's experience, someone's interest, and figure out, is this truly a fit for this role, for this company? I think that's when it works at its best.
Yeah, but then to your point, I think a lot of times it's like I apply for something and I'm posting and praying, right? And I just
Yep.
10 jobs, and you're like, dude, you don't even know what you want. And so I think that just goes back to having your story.
Yeah, I try not to say that to people.
No,
we try to in a nice way figure out how to focus on the things that they are really good at, and then when you've got 13,000 jobs open, you might be able to find a role in that 13,000.
Seriously.
Right? So maybe sometimes it just doesn't work. But I think listening to people really pays dividends. And we're all so busy. I've been guilty of it too. I'm not perfect. So I think if we can stop and focus and listen to the candidates and remember that as much as we're evaluating, we also need to sell. Sometimes recruitment teams, we don't close the deal either, right? We tell candidates to try to close the deal, always be closing, but we're not closing the deal either. We're not telling them why it's unique to work here. What's the career going to look like for you? How is this going to make a difference for you? How are you going to be enriched every day? What are we're just like, yeah, they checked the box, pass it to the hiring manager, right? So.
Okay, that was good.
Yeah.
I have one more, and before I'm going to give you, so one of the things we close the show, and I just want to kind of give you fair warning. I don't think we mentioned it before. We were talking before we started recording, is we asked the guest for, and I know you will not disappoint. We asked the guest for, HR is you've seen and heard it all. And some of it is strange, some of it's unusual, some of it's weird, some of it's creepy. So we always like to say, hey, what's your, and nothing inappropriate or irreverent, but what's your most unusual? I mean, one person said they brought their dad with them for the interview, or I like what was it last week's when the parent showed up for the interview, but not the kid. And then they're like, well, we were not hiring you. And he said, well, he doesn't interview very well. So we thought, so I'm just warning you, we're going to ask you for some sort of fantastic, most unusual thing. And it could be something that you did as a candidate or as a recruiter, or something you heard about, but your kind of most unusual experience with NTA. But before I ask you that, what do you think companies are doing really well when they are, in flow and hiring in an efficient, effective way?
They are giving exceptional candidate experience.
Ooh, bingo.
Don't forget that.
That could go, that could go back.
Yeah, that could be another segment, but
Yeah,
we
that could be a
won't
whole
talk about that.
episode.
But yeah, I think exceptional candidate experience, making folks feel welcomed and warm, whether we hire them or not. I mean, this is something that we struggle with every day. So I think that's the goal, is to have a great candidate experience on the end for any candidate, no matter what ends up happening in the process.
That's a good answer. That's when Donnie and I are, doing the hierarchy stuff. The two de facto things that we always, let's say we call in someone and they've got it all figured out, or they don't have any problems or issues, which has never happened, by the way. We always fall back on candidate experience and diversity, specifically veterans, as you know. Those are two areas I don't think anybody has it all figured out, but good for you to call out, because candidate experience we could talk, I know I'm preaching to the choir.
It'll be another segment.
Starbucks wants you to buy their coffee, but they never got back to me when I just applied for a barista job. They're dead to me. So giving them that positive, just to you've said it throughout all your answers, common.
Well, I also think that, especially even more so in the business that I'm in right now, the industry I'm in, any person who touches us as a candidate could also be a referral system for us, right? So whether we hire them or not, they could say, gosh, I had a really good experience with St. Joe's Hospital in Phoenix, or I had a really great experience with St. Alexis. Maybe I wouldn't have considered them to go get care before, but because I had a great experience, I'm going to tell other people about them. And you don't do it for that reason, of course, but it's important, no matter where you are, to be authentic, to be real with people. And of course, the goal is to try to make sure people have good experience. So
producer Bev saying she's got to go. So I know you got to go, and that doesn't surprise me.
It's okay.
Okay,
it's
good.
Okay.
Sorry, producer Bev. So William, producer Bev, do you want to ask her before we go to the salacious, super clickbaity HR story?
No, she's been amazing.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, she's been amazing, and we'll have to do a part 2. So
okay, I'm all in. This has been so much fun for me. I love talking to you, all 3 of you. So it's been great.
No, I'm good. I can't wait to hear the dirt. Go for it.
Well, and Wanda, the other thing before the salacious one, you can just say 1 or 2 things to someone, like your party, nothing else. Whatever I said to you today, whether it's I want to be a TA leader or I'm a candidate, what would you impart? What Lewis Howitt's like his 3 truths, but I'm just going to say, hey, if you didn't hear anything I said today, and you said a lot, and then a lot of it will be remembered, but say, what is 1 key takeaway? I have like 12 of them, but I want you.
1 key takeaway
that you would
people
want
first.
to come away from.
People first.
Oh, people first.
People first. When you put people first, whether you're a candidate, whether you're a TA leader, whether you're a business leader, you put people first, things will work out.
Okay. Well, that was good. And that was, frankly, that was underscored by almost everything you said. And I happen to agree with you. And I wish I'd learned that sooner.
I don't believe that, Andrew.
Well, I got caught up in I think we all did, in that same thing of like, hey, I got to grow up quickly. I got to get out of college. Everyone else is lapping me. I got to do something. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I got my insurance. I know I'm not the guest here, but so first I did real estate. That didn't go so great. So then I did insurance. That didn't go great. And then just what you said, a buddy that I'd sold insurance to said, you know what, I need a clerk for this ad agency. And so I kind of worked for their part-time, and then thought, hey, this is kind of cool. I like this. I'm helping people and I'm meeting people. And then the next thing you know,
I think it's generational also for us, right? I think this generation that's behind us have a little more flexibility. I mean, we grew up at a time where people they went the ladder, right? That's what they did. They did. And now they jump from window sill to the rooftop and back down. So So I think that some of this is just the beauty of where we are in the arc of history and the arc of the cultural, what's the cultural norms are. So don't be too hard on yourself.
Wanda, now you're just showing off. I like the thing what you said about climbing the ladder, and then you get to the
Yeah.
top and you realize, oh my God, the ladder's on the wrong building.
Exactly.
me.
Exactly. Right. And it happens.
Yeah. Okay. So,
right.
all right, we're ready for everybody lean in.
salacious-
Here we go.
I know.
Oh, it doesn't have to be bathroom oriented. It can be.
No, I'm just trying to think of the most salacious thing that's happened.
Salacious.
I mean,
just be
I know.
awkward.
Weird. Well, I've had some stalkers before.
Well, that
Oh,
doesn't surprise me.
Oh, that's nice.
You're very.
Yeah, I've had some stalkers. So I think that's probably not salacious, but more unnerving. Sometimes being so open and available is not always the best thing. So I have had some stalkers. And
stalkers is in plural. So we're not a stalker.
I've had a couple. I've had a
cadre.
couple people. Yeah.
cadre.
Not at the same time. Thank you, William. But
appreciate that.
At the same time. Yeah.
And
but I have had a few.
That's unnerving.
It's unnerving. It's unnerving in the sense that you want to help people.
Yeah.
Want to be there for them. And then they think, sometimes some don't understand when you've done what you've done, and that's where it ends, right? But then when you start getting emails with Bible verses and all sorts of things.
I'm so sorry. I did not.
No, don't be sorry. It's fine. It's all a part of what we do.
Actually, I think this happens.
Bible verse.
I think this
happens a little bit.
This happens more than we talk about publicly.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had a couple. Just a couple.
And you know what? That's actually a good. There's a parable in there. So audience, because I'm one of the things I say, Wanda, sometimes, as there's applicant tracking systems and structured interviewing, and this is the way we do it. I'm a big, hey, go, do a Statue of Liberty play and just reach out to bypass the system, right? The best job to apply for is the one that doesn't exist, but it kind of, it aligns or doesn't align with what you just said. Sometimes you have to really honor people and not make assumptions. And there's a fine line between persistence.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a fine line. And I have to say, I agree with you. I'm not sure that the job doesn't have to exist. I just think that it's important if you know someone, and everybody has to think about their networks really broadly. It could be through your church. It could be through a organization that you volunteer with. Somebody might know someone who's at a company that you're interested in, and they may have a posted job. I think if you can get an inside track for, first of all, just preparing yourself for the fact that if you get that interview, I think that is great. And so, I would encourage people to definitely network, use your college or alumni networks, talk to your high school buds. I mean, always be networking in a way that's meaningful, of course, and it can't be fake and not real. But I do think if you can get that in, that's great. I think you should be respectful of their time.
Always.
You should. I mean, I'm a gal who likes stationery, so I always send handwritten thank you notes. I might send a quick email thank you just so people know I appreciate it, but I like to follow up with a handwritten note. It's a lost art. And I'm not suggesting everyone do that. It has to be, what you'd like to do. But I also think that, if you've had multiple iterations of conversations and it's clear it's not going anywhere, then you have to know that now it's time to back away. And that's the only piece of advice I would say.
Let's leave it there. That's good advice. This has been incredibly
great.
While, and I'm so grateful. I knew this would be a great show. So Wanda, I mean, if people want to get in touch with you in a tasteful, appropriate way, how?
I know. Now I hate using that example.
No, listen. First of all, the audience, just for what it's worth, I've emailed Wanda probably about 1,000 times, and I'm not exaggerating. Nah, maybe 500, but still a lot. And almost every time, but it's right back. But without fail, you will always send me an email saying, you know what, Andrew, I have been busy doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I saw
I try
you.
to get back to people.
Sorry,
So
I didn't get
I try
back.
to get back to you right away. But sometimes if I'm interviewing all day, I have to wait till the end of the day.
But it's always personal. It's always addresses whatever my ask was. And you know me, I'm always there when I need you. That's
I know.
No, but so you do walk.
No, I'm just teasing. But yes, if people want to get in touch with me via LinkedIn, feel free. My profile's up. I'm there. Let me know that you found out about me through this network. And if I can be of help or find someone else to connect someone to, I'd be happy to do so. And I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given me today. Thank you so much. It's really nice to meet you, Bev, finally. And William, it was also quite a pleasure.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day and have a great long weekend. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow. Oh, God, I better get busy.
Fun day.
Thank you, Wanda, so much.
This is why you need women on your team to remind you of these
Well,
things.
producer Beth.
Sunday.
Okay, you guys.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you again.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of Career Keynotes. For more killer content, please like and subscribe to our channel. We welcome all comments and questions and are grateful for any input regarding future content, topics, and guests. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.